it's one thing to be the cool director leader guy when things are going smooth. Mm-hmm. It's another to like be that guy when things aren't going smooth. Yeah. And a certain amount of like setting the tone independently of how it's actually going. Yeah. You know, I think that really matters. And I want to be like cognizant of that like people are looking to me for leadership and I'm setting the tone for like the vibe on set.
Cameron Goold, welcome to A Filmmaker's Journey. Thanks for making the time to join us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I know nothing about you except for what I've seen on Instagram, and these are my favorite conversations because you're extremely talented. I've seen what you're able to produce, but I don't know much beyond that, and I'm excited to get to know you some more.
Yeah, likewise, man. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So let's give yourself a little bit of an introduction. Cameron Goold.
Yeah.
What do you do in the filmmaking world as a profession, and what are some things you're currently working on?
So I'm a commercial director, and I've what am I working on right now? There's
so many things.
I've got a couple commercials that I'm wrapping up right now. Just shot this one for Honda motorcycles out in Maine that we're wrapping up color on right now, and what else is going on? We've been shooting this project for this guy down in Provo who builds these like one-of-one custom Porsche stuff, and we've been shooting a little thing with him, a little documentary thing, and we're wrapping that up too. And yeah.
Do you do a lot of car stuff?
Yeah.
I've noticed that, and you work with Override a few times.
Yep.
Damien's the best.
Yeah, he's the raddest. It was cool to kind of like see Jordan like come up through the years. Yeah. Like I remember when Jordan just started out, got the Mini Cooper and the arm on the Mini Cooper and stuff, and it's cool to see him like level up through the years and get more and more legit. And,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
How much they're doing. So do you primarily direct, or do you do anything else?
Just direct.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you get into that? I mean, we'll go deep on that, but like, how do you become just a director? Is that something you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it kind of started for me 7th grade ceramics class. We watched like a behind the scenes video of Finding Nemo, and I was like, that sounds cool to like make Pixar movies. So when I was starting out, I thought I wanted to be an animator, and quickly learned that's not what I wanted to be, like way more technical than I thought. But I think it was about like storytelling and working, you know, as a team to like tell a story was like very attractive to me since then. And, you know, video just kind of became the thing throughout high school. And then I grew up Mormon, went on a mission and came home, and, you know, it turned into just like weird gigs, shooting weddings and corporate videos and all the stuff. And
so you're shooting stuff, obviously. And
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I was saving up before my mission for a Canon XHA1. That was like the camera of my desires early days. And then when I got home, that's when like the whole DSLR revolution happened. And I got a Canon T2i and was just, shooting anything anyone would pay me to do. And I had a friend of mine from high school, his name's Aaron Brimhall. He's a photographer, and we were kind of like shooting stuff for fun together, and it turned into shooting a lot of motorcycle stuff. And that ended up opening a lot of doors for like some fashion brands, and kind of became my sneaky doorway into automotive work. And then when I was in college, I got connected with Cole Webley and Julian Acosta. They were like, they're like, you know, local commercial film director guys who were, you know, a big help to me at the time. And I met them, and they had a production company called Namesake at the time. And so when I graduated from the U, they signed me as a commercial director, and kind of just slowly turned into more like real commercial work from there.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's amazing. Going back to kind of your introduction, do you have anything that you are super proud of that we can look at maybe on your Instagram or on your Vimeo?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, probably the thing I feel proudest of is a lot of the work I've done for this fashion brand, Deus Ex Machina. Recently we did a project with a guy in Provo, actually. His name's Tanner Boyce, and he builds these really cool, like, vintage Porsche custom car things, and he's got like a whole cool pedigree of coming up doing Porsche stuff, and he kind of apprenticed under this guy Rod Emery, who was like a big name in the Porsche world. And this was like a really fun project. It was nice to have a project like this where it's like just kind of three guys going out and shooting, and we were able to shoot Tanner, over the course of a couple months, and I was really happy with how this one turned out.
So when you're like your style, you're directing, like how are you working between the DP, yourself? Are you calling these shots, and like how much of the art, like what we're seeing on screen are you involved in? Yeah,
I mean, thankfully a lot when it's something this small, and Mason Prendergast, he's a good friend of mine, and he's kind of become my go-to DP collaborator of choice. And when me and Mason are working together, it feels like very just fluid, and we're just kind of both thinking a lot. We're very aligned on how we're thinking about things, and it's like a nice collaborative process with him.
Yeah. So when you're getting these, this one wasn't a paid gig, or was this
I mean, this is like
a passion project, or
it's like kind of in between. Where there's like enough money to fly Mason out and to have some gear, but no one's making money off a project like this. But it's nice to have just enough support from a brand like Deus to go out and make something cool. But more of a passion project than anything. But the nice side of the passion project, the nice side of doing a passion project is just the amount of creative control that comes with it generally. And this was one of those where Deus was really cool to just trust me to go out and do it. They don't need to be there on set or have any sort of script for me. They can just kind of trust me to go make something cool.
So when you are getting paid gigs and you're getting these commercials that you're shooting and things like that, what is that? How do you get to that world of people reaching out? Is it relationships? You've built enough of a portfolio doing stuff like this, maybe? People outreaching. I'm just curious how you get deals as a director.
So I'm signed at a production company now called Farm League, and
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah, they're in LA, and they're like they're like a union, real life production company. And I think every director, maybe to some level, feels this sort of, you're kind of straddling two worlds of like, I have the sort of real car commercials with the real budgets and whatever that come along with that. But along with that comes, all the agency, and there's a lot more BS you got to put up with maybe. And it's less of just going out and making something fun with your friends. And, I think going out and making something fun with your friends generally is how you make, or at least for me, that's how I make some of my best work. And it's funny how the work with no budgets is the thing that gets you the work with real budgets, and to kind of be able to bounce between those worlds and know how to operate in both of those is tricky. And I mean, it's like it's a process to like learn how to navigate the whole agency, production company, 200 people on a set kind of thing versus 3 people on a set. And to know how to operate in both of those worlds is pretty important.
Yeah, that's a big gap between small production and big production.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy either or more?
I mean, it is fun to like have the budgets and the sort of like power that comes along with that of, you know, set designers and casting directors and all the support to really execute on a vision.
Yeah.
But all of that support can also kind of feel like a freight train that's hard to steer sometimes, and you're not exactly nimble, or it's all about having prep and a clear vision, and it's less about improvising on the day. And I think that learning curve of kind of knowing how to operate is like a one-man band to becoming more of like a real director I'm still very much learning it, but it's weird how it's a very different skill set, and the sort of political skills and knowing how to sell things and all these things that don't necessarily feel like what you think of when you think of directing. Like suddenly that stuff is what really matters, and that's the kind of stuff that there's not really like a master class for that either. And I had to learn maybe the hard way and just get my ass kicked a little bit. And well,
that's what sticks.
Yeah, right.
Is if you're like reading this or you're at school, it's like it's not sticking until someone you screw up or you somewhat fail at something, and then you will take that into everything, because there's a lot of pressure that comes with operating a bigger set when people are all relying on you. Yeah. And you are you're getting asked questions from hair and makeup and wardrobe, things that maybe might not know the answer to. When you're managing that set, just talk to me about like your mindset when you're on set with a bigger crew and you are trying to be creative, but then you're also managing the politics, like you said, and you're selling your vision at the same time as you're shooting. What kind of a mindset do you have when you're going into a bigger shoot like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it for me just boils down to prep.
Yeah.
And I need to know the vision better than anyone else, because inevitably you are going to have multiple people coming up to you asking for direction. Yeah. And if you don't know, they're not going to be able to do their best work for you. And so, but you also have the support of, producers and all the people kind of keeping it on track as well. And I think for me, a lot of it boils down to just like having the right team and having, just, you kind of have your kind of main 4 or 5 collaborators on a bigger set like that, and making sure those people understand me and how I like to work, or my strengths and my weaknesses. I think that's really important for me. I think I'm not a guy who's very good at like feigning confidence. I either actually am confident, or you will probably know that I'm not. And I think I can only get that confidence with like prep. Yeah. And really like knowing what I want. Yeah. And I think the confidence through prep is a lot of what I've been feeling the last couple of years, for sure. That's
such a huge thing to learn too as you're becoming a director. I'm sure you've jumped on sets where you haven't been prepared, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't prepare as much as I should have, and you're kind of faking it as you're going. But the amount of prep that you can do before a shoot, and when you do that, how much better the product turns out, and then how much more you can do maybe extra. Maybe in the moment something comes up, you're like, oh, let's shoot that. But now I know we've got all the stuff that we've prepped for. We can be a little more nimble and keep the set moving. So going into that, like your style, can we talk about where that came from and kind of the style? And I'd love to pull up his Instagram while he's talking about it, because I would imagine that's your style, like when you're going through your feed. Do you have a style that you like lean on, and that can go into like as much as the pacing, the storytelling, the camera lens choice, when you're shooting these commercials?
Yeah, I think like, I don't know. I think my style is like just what I like and what my instincts are
Yeah.
more than anything, right? And
Cool.
I think my instincts tend to be more, I don't know, like a little more like stripped down documentary approach to things, as opposed to like a lot of art direction, a lot of technical camera, whatever,
Cool.
you know? Like
Yeah.
I think my style tends to be a little more humanistic documentary
Cool.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I think the knowing what your style is always like
It's a loaded
it's
question.
a very loaded question, right? Because I don't even really know
Yeah.
how to best like describe my style, and it's tough, especially with commercials, where it's like you're kind of adapting your style a little bit to an idea that
Yeah.
an ad agency has come up with for you.
Totally.
And so yeah, I think it's something I'm still trying to figure out for myself, but generally speaking, like I want things that feel adventurous and human and kind of out there, outside, off the paved roads a little
Yeah.
bit is like where I feel very comfortable.
No, I think that's perfectly describes what we were just watching. Do you did you edit before you became an official director, and do you still edit your films?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really cut much of my stuff now. Whether that's just like laziness or there's better people than me is probably a little bit of both. But I definitely came up editing
Cool.
everything, you
Yeah.
know, and I've had to pay my dues editing plenty of boring corporate videos
Yeah.
and wedding videos and
Yeah.
and all the different things. But you know, early days when I was shooting for that brand Deus Ex Machina, you know, I was doing a lot of that editing, and but along the way, you know, I've found some of my like closest collaborators who are editors, you know, like Tyler Packard was he's a good friend of mine, and he cut a lot of my stuff, and Eric Klein is another guy that I've used a lot recently. But yeah.
The reason I ask is just because the best directors usually came up editing. Because
Yeah.
as you're picking your shots, you're filling those gaps that you know you need in post, or that's not going to cut because you've got this.
Yeah.
And so being able to edit is so crucial in this. Do you find yourself when you're putting together shot lists, obviously I know the answer, but like thinking of the edit in mind?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Maybe just talk about how important that is.
Yeah, well, it's one of the tricky things too
Yeah.
about like when you're kind of transitioning from like the videographer to like directing.
Yeah.
There's like, as you're breaking into whatever that tier we want to call of like ad agency
Yeah.
work that has, you know, scripts and all that stuff. I think as you're breaking into that world, it's kind of tough where you're not getting the jobs that like are, here's one 30-second script.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, we need to shoot 5 30-second scripts, and we need this whole matrix of different products and deliverables, and to be able to wrap your head around everything that you need to get out of a shoot is difficult sometimes,
Yeah.
especially as you're in this kind of like tier of shoot that needs 50 different deliverables out of it, and sometimes, you know, you just need to have more of a like a zoomed out perspective on what
Right.
you need to get. And it, as I've hopefully like started to climb through the ranks, you get a little more of like, okay, here's the 60-second script that you can storyboard and turn into like shot for shot, and start to see it in like this clearer, seeing the edit, you
Right.
know? Because I do think that's a lot of what separates like good work from great work is
Yeah.
just being able to wrap your head around what it looks like, or what the edit looks like in your head before you go out and shoot it, and
For sure.
all the little things you need to make that edit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. So we kind of touched a little bit on your journey. I want to dial it back. Sounds like things started in ceramics for you.
Yeah.
I want to just kind of start where it began for you, and you got that first spark to become a creative and a videographer, and then we want to just get to this point where we're at now.
Yeah, like I said, I think I've always been a creative person. You know, I grew up really loving art and drawing and all that stuff. But I think where the sort of video or film side of it really started was that 7th grade class. But, you know, from there, there was definitely a lot of shooting on the family VHS camera, blowing up toy soldiers in the garden kind of stuff, and shooting skate videos or bike videos or whatever we would just go shoot with our friends. And then in high school, they had like a tech center program where for my senior year, half the day I would go to the tech center and we just learned the whole Adobe suite basically.
Cool.
And when we got to Premiere, I was really excited to like dive into video, and just made some like dumb videos with my friends that were funny to us at least.
Yeah,
And
no, I've got those.
yeah. And then like wanted then I was starting to think more seriously about like, oh, where do I want to go to college? And it was very like film focused, and I was going to go to UCLA, and
Cool.
I had this whole plan. And then I got home from my mission and things kind of changed, and I ended up going to the University of Utah. And I was actually really glad. That was like a great experience, and it was nice to graduate college not
Nice.
$100,000 in debt or whatever. And
So you went and got your degree?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I went to film school and did that whole thing, and it was great. I think like film school maybe isn't for everyone, but for me it was like a great structure to kind of force me to eat my vegetables a little bit and develop like an appreciation for film history and some of the more like theoretical stuff as opposed to like the practical on-set knowledge kind of thing. And I was grateful for that because, you know, in our day and age, like I don't know how much on-set experience, or like I don't even know how much that matters if you can just pick up a camera and make something good. And I was fortunate to like get a little bit of both of that, and had a lot of opportunities to make projects I wouldn't have made otherwise, and develop skills I wouldn't have otherwise too.
And when you went from high school to college knowing you wanted to be in film, did you want to be a director?
You know, originally I thought I wanted to be a DP.
Yeah.
And as time went along, I think there's maybe the best part of filmmaking for me is the like team sport element of it. Like I love to go out as an art team and like collaborate on a project. And I think that's what really drew me to the directing side of it, was working with people.
Yeah.
And I think
Working with people, and that's what shifted you to be a director.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too, I had a buddy of mine. We were doing all the wedding videos and corporate gigs and all that stuff together. And as we were doing it, it kind of just like, we kind of naturally fell into this DP director kind of relationship.
Yeah. Is this the same DP that still shoots for you?
No, my buddy Curtis Woodbury was his name, and he's rad. But it was this kind of natural, just kind of naturally like fell into those positions, and it felt right.
So it's a very it's DP's super collaborative with the director, and doesn't feel as much pressure, but is focused on that image. And shifting your mindset to becoming a director, what did you find in yourself that made you feel like you wanted to be a director as you were navigating that? Like, because you like to work with people, you're able to run a set, obviously. What is it that steered you towards that? Because it's a pretty big shift when you're just dealing with a big set and you're managing a lot, right?
Yeah.
But you're also able to push your vision and fight for your vision on set. I think it's interesting to me because I was also wanting to be a DP, turned more into a director. I still kind of do both, but I love directing. Yeah. And I like the management side of it. So I'm just curious about that shift for you when you became a director and you're like, this is the direction I want to go. Did that happen in college? And then what was it that like really spoke to you there?
That's a good question. I'm like, I think part of it is maybe like just a little bit of ADHD
Yeah.
too, where I'm like, I don't want to do just one thing.
Yeah.
I want to
You
be
could do a
able to just
lot.
like
Yeah.
be involved with everything.
Everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think directing just has like enough different things that feel right to me, and I like to not be like so narrowly focused on like one particular department.
Yeah.
It feels nice to kind of be just involved a little bit on every level, you know.
That's a great answer, actually, because I'd never thought about that, because I love that side of it too, where it's you're not just shooting a video like a DP would, or that's obviously not giving them enough credit. They're lighting the set, they're running the team that's creating that picture, but you're also involved in that. Plus you're involved in wardrobe and all the different things, whatever size film you're creating.
Right.
And that's so fun to have a little piece in that to eventually create the end goal, which is the film.
Totally.
And so I love that answer. So when you were going into college, what was the Utah film program like? Because I had considered it. I ended up going to UVU. A lot of the guests on here went to BYU.
Yeah.
I think you're the first that went to Utah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how it was at that time there.
It was great. I mean, like, I remember I bought this like book that had it like talked about all the film schools in the country and kind of gave like a breakdown of what everyone was. But it was from like 1990, so I don't even know how accurate it was. But you know, it had kind of claimed that like the U of U was like this great independent film community, like plugged into Sundance and whatever. And I think I got there and I felt a little frustrated like the first year, because I'm like, dude, I know how to operate a camera. I know how to like
all the basic classes,
edit and Premiere, and it felt a little bit like, okay, like I don't need to learn this stuff. But as it got in, there was like a few classes that like really stood out and felt important to me, and I think that's probably like a lot of people's experience at film school is you have like 6 classes that are kind of whatever. Maybe you already know it, or maybe you didn't get much from it, but the like 4 or 5 classes that are good, those are the meaningful ones. And for me, they had a really great storyboarding teacher who he had worked at Disney and like had a lot of great experience, and he had such a great like storytelling perspective on just pre-visualizing anything you're doing, and it felt like it was much bigger than just storyboards. It tapped into just like having a vision, you know. And there was that storyboarding class was really great, and they had a really great screenwriting teacher there too. And I think the screenwriting program was fantastic. And then they also have there's these Spanish twin teachers there who are amazing, and Sonia and Miriam, and they do like a lot of the kind of film history and film theory stuff. And between all those classes, like I still think about things I learned in those classes, and I think I felt a little frustrated with some of the like the sort of practical stuff. The first year was like all the stuff I already knew, and then the like practical kind of higher level like grip and lighting stuff was there was a couple classes that felt really useful in that, but there wasn't like a ton of like practical, like get yourself an apprenticeship on as a grip or a gaffer or whatever. But now that I'm, you know, years removed, I'm like, that stuff is like, you can get that outside of film school pretty easy, I think. And I think the theory and the sort of just like learning how to tell a story, I was like very happy with the classes there.
Well, our generation, it was like right on the change of this like college, don't go to college time right now. If you have the discipline and you have the commitment, you can do everything you would get in college. But the issue with that is that if you're not paying for it, if you don't have a time to show up, grades to hit, that's really hard to do. But obviously on just getting out and experiencing things yourself and failing and shooting things is the most important way. And that's what I liked about UVU is it was very hands-on. They just kind of threw you out there with the camera and you create things. Do you find yourself were you writing a lot in college? Like, do you find yourself writing scripts for a lot of the things you shoot, or do people bring those to you?
Dude, I still like wrestle with the question of like how much I should or shouldn't be writing all the time. I mean,
Because you're a director, you should be writing every day.
Right. Well, and I think there's like truth to that, right? Like, I think there's so many things in like the old model of how you would become a director that just like don't really apply much anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, like 30 years ago, I think all the lanes of a director and a writer and whatever, a DP, I think those were much more like separated than they are today.
Yeah.
And just what it takes to make a movie now today is so much less that I think inevitably to be a director, I think you kind of just have to have your own ideas and your own scripts, and it doesn't mean you can't collaborate, but I think if you're not writing, if you're not having your own concepts, like, I don't know, those aren't going to fall in your lap.
No.
And to even like make those kinds of connections, you almost need a reel to even make those kinds of connections.
So just creating things.
Yeah, I think just making stuff is always going to be super important. And obviously, like, as you're trying to be a storyteller, like, no story is going to fall in your lap. And I think inevitably you're going to have to find and write those things yourself on some level.
Well, especially as a director, and it's hard as a director too, because, and obviously in the early days you were shooting things, but if you're like, I'm going into this, I'm going to be a director, I'm the right person. People aren't just hiring directors like left and right. And in the early days of a person's career, for sure, it's like, you've got to go out and create your projects.
Yep.
And then hire the DPs or hire the people to help you that you need in those areas. Because a lot of people listen to this podcast that are trying to navigate their careers and figure out what they want best. And so talking to directors, talking to DPs, it kind of helps people choose and pick different careers. And so, for you to go to the director's route and then being able to create your own projects is crucial in the early days. And so that's why I asked in college, are you writing? Are you starting to fill out that director side of things? And then sounds like you ended up shooting things as well.
Yeah.
So then go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I had an idea. Oh, it just left me.
I completely smacked it out of your head because I was ready to move on to the next thing.
No,
but it was writing and directing in college and creating your own projects.
Yeah. The idea, like, basically, the reality is, like, you're not going to get paid to make something unless you've already made something very similar to the thing someone wants to pay you to make.
Totally. And
it's like this gap you have to fill with, like, just going and doing it yourself. Like, if you want to shoot motorcycle videos, if you want to get paid to shoot motorcycle videos, you have to go shoot motorcycle videos. And it only, like, niches further and further down. Like, nowadays, as I sort of have like a brand of myself for commercial work, brands are only going to come to me to shoot a script if I already have something very similar that I've done on my reel already,
I find the same thing with just running a production company. It's like, people have seen something that I created for another company that's like theirs, and they're like, we want that, who made it? And then they find out who made it and they come to us, like, we just want something similar to that. Or when we get companies that come in here, it's like, do you have anything that you've seen that you like, that you want us to base this off of? And they'll show you things, and it's like, oh cool, we've done this. Or if we haven't done it, it's a little bit harder sell. But if you've done enough things too, you just kind of build your style, and it's like, you can take this car concept and turn it into a Built Bar concept. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's just, the market is so saturated like, if I'm a brand paying someone to do something, I'm going to find the guy who's basically done the thing I want to do
100%.
And pay them to do it.
Yeah. And you start to, like you said, you get further down your career and you become super, super niched.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself this is kind of jumping ahead, but we'll go back. Do you find yourself, as you're going down this niche, that you're enjoying it more and more? Or are you like, oh no, it's like a wedding videographer, right? When they're like getting deeper and deeper, and it's like, oh crap, I don't really like this, I gotta pivot.
But
I can't, because this is my work.
With
you, is it Do you feel like you're going down a good path?
Yeah, it's funny how that feeling like never goes away, of like the thing you want to do and the thing you get paid to do, right?
Totally.
And it just like looks different. And I wrestle with that same question in many ways the same way I did 10 years ago today. You know, it just like it looks a little different, but it's like the same question. And I think, you know, now the questions I'm asking myself about like what do I want to get paid to do? What do I want to make? Like those questions, you know, it's like, okay, I have a lot of car stuff on my reel. Should I be trying to like continue to like just niche into car stuff and get more and more into like the types of car ads I want to do? Or should I be expanding into other non-car work or whatever? And I think it's an age-old question, and it never goes away, I think, you know? Yeah,
you're always thinking, should I dabble in that? But you got to get paid. You know, I totally feel that all the time.
Well, and I think you see, like, it's almost like I think if I had any advice for like kids starting out, it's like, what is your dream project, or what is the thing you would die to be making? And while you're young and while you can afford the risk and you don't have a bunch of expenses or a house payment or whatever, like that's the time to just like invest into getting paid to do the type of work you want to do. Because the more you sort of like are compromising, like the longer that path becomes, you know? And if you can start out with just like sort of uncompromisingly, as much as you can, be uncompromisingly like chasing the thing you would die to make, or just love to be making till the day you die. Like, it's like if you can delay the house payments expenses, and if you can like take advantage of the time where you can afford the risk to just like invest into making the dream projects, and eventually someone will pay you to do it, you know?
And what I love about that too is when you think about just going out and creating things, you're preparing yourself for those opportunities when they do come, right? Because if you're not doing those things and you're just like, I'm just kind of waiting for something to fall in my lap, or maybe you're going down a route and something else shows up, it's so important to have those passion projects or free gigs to get to these opportunities, because these opportunities are not going to show up or even want you if you haven't, like you said, done the stuff already to be able to show people. So it's important to do that, to be prepared for those opportunities as well. With the going from college to the next stage of your career, what happened after college?
So I met with Cole and Julian, who I mentioned earlier, and they signed me as a director on their roster, which was great because it felt like I'm a director now, like I can say that. But the reality was like not much work was like coming in through that. It was still like very much me doing my own independent thing outside of that. And so I think early days it felt nice to like be on a roster and sort of feel like I was a director, even though it didn't necessarily like translate into like a bunch of commercial opportunities. I was still very much like out there making my own opportunities independent of them. But it was great as I was like getting kind of bigger and better opportunities independently. I was able to kind of start bringing work to them and getting the sort of production support to make it happen, and also to get the sort of mentorship from Cole and Julian of just like how to navigate the commercial ad agency world, because that was like so foreign to me. And I think, I mean, my perspective on this, I think especially growing up in like sweet little Utah, it's just like, it's a whole other world out there of learning to like be confident and sell yourself and all these things that didn't feel natural to me. I think like my upbringing was very much about like being humble and being easy to work with, and I still really value those things, but I think a lot of what I had to learn was about like leadership and confidence, and Cole and Julian were super, super helpful in helping me like navigate that part of the job, you know?
So you worked there and just, I mean, did you have it?
Yeah.
You say you didn't have a ton of opportunities, or at least like you didn't feel quite like a real director yet. What kind of came out of that agency?
Yeah, because I think like the kind of timeline of things, like I had started to do more and more work with my photographer friend Aaron, and we were shooting motorcycle stuff, and it was like maybe there was a little bit of budget, but not really. It was just about like shooting cool stuff. And then there was this opportunity Aaron had to shoot this like motorcycle trip thing in Indonesia, and he had that opportunity, and I was like, can I pay my own way and just come shoot video alongside of you? And they were, the brand was down to buy my flight or whatever. Cool. And it ended up being, that's how I ended up meeting the Deus people. And me and Aaron, we went out and shot this motorcycle trip, and they like premiered the video, a couple days after we had wrapped the trip. They had this like premiere event at the Deus store there in Bali. And then the guys at Deus ended up like having me and Aaron stay out another week, and we shot some other stuff, and it turned into this like relationship with Deus that ended up being really important to my career, and still kind of is. And with that, like there was a few opportunities that came in through the like namesake production company. There was a job that came in, like my first real car job was for Genesis, and Cole and Julian helped me, figure out how to do a good treatment and how to pitch on it. And I won the job, and went out and shot on a real arm car for the first time, and kind of had like the first real commercial experience. And it was so helpful to have them be a part of that. And from there was like, I kind of stumbled into some like tourism commercial opportunities, and shot some stuff for like Abu Dhabi tourism, and a few things in Dubai, and there was like a handful of like jobs that came in through the namesake thing that ended up being really important to just like figure out how this kind of next level of commercial filmmaking even works. I feel
like there's so much learning on other people's dime too that people need, and as important as it is to go out and just do things, like being able to try things at another level on in someone else's company is really important. It was a huge piece of my career for sure. I kind of wanted to just take a left turn real quick. I'd love to kind of understand your process as a director, for someone that doesn't even really know what you do from like beginning to end. A brand comes to you with a deal. Do they come with something that's like an idea, or do they say, here's our script? And then kind of just tell me about, and I'll kind of ask questions along the way, but like as a director, you got your script, your idea. Let's just start there. Script, storyboard, crew, all that. Like, can you kind of walk us through your process? I
mean, like I'll try to give like the short version of how a commercial is made, but Nike wants to make a commercial. They have their ad agency, White & Kennedy. White & Kennedy, they have their creatives. They come up with a concept, months of back and forth with Nike, blah, blah, blah. They finally land on like, okay, here's the idea. And they'll put that idea into like a creative brief that they send out to their reps. And or there's production company reps in each territory, in like the Midwest, the East, the West. And these reps will compile a list of 50 directors or so. And the creatives at White & Kennedy will watch the reels of all these different directors, and based on the reels and availability and budget, blah, 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 they narrow it down to 3 directors typically. And then those 3 directors pitch on the job, and they write what's called a treatment. And the treatment, every job's a little different, but essentially, let's say White and Kennedy, they came up with this 30-second script. It's Michael Jordan dunking a basketball or whatever. And, if I'm one of those three directors pitching on it, I have to kind of take their idea, run it through the CAM algorithm, and spit it back out to them a little bit. And knowing how much to deviate or how much, it's a nightmare.
That's
and
so
every
hard.
job is different.
Yeah.
But eventually, they'll choose one of the three directors to make the commercial, and then it kind of really begins. And once it begins, storyboarding is often like kind of the first step. And, you're kind of storyboarding, you're doing a director scout, all that stuff pretty early on. You get into casting, you start, getting all the key, the production designer, the DP, gaffer, you start kind of getting all your key positions filled.
Do you find a producer to help you do a lot of that, or you involved?
It varies, like a production company will generally like have a sort of roster of producers, freelance producers, or in-house producers they like to use, and directors will often have like people they like too, and that's usually like as you're bidding on the job, usually they're finding a producer who's also helping put together the bid. Apart from my creative treatment, we're handing in a creative treatment, but also a bid that's like, here's what you're getting in a sort of dollars and cents ways, which, you're getting arm car for 2 days or all the things, and you're laying it out so the agency can make a decision both like based on the budget and the creative. But you
start putting like your crew together. And then it was from what's after that. The key players, I guess.
Like I said, it's a little different every job, and it's nice when the sort of creative ask is fairly contained, where you can get in and storyboard in a very detailed way and get down to like a shot for shot kind of level of preparation. And I think I've become like a big believer in getting the storyboard part of it as right as you can early on, so that as you're having the conversations with a production designer, you can just point to the storyboards and be like, this is what we're going for,
That's one thing I learned is like, it's very easy for us to see something in our minds as a visual, like we see that picture. And I learned this, I think, too late in my career, how important it is to be able to show someone what that looks like, because you're trying to convey something that I just don't see it. It's like, oh my gosh, if you put it on a piece of paper and they can see that, this makes sense, and then they're on board.
But some directors go the opposite way, where they like don't want storyboards because they don't want a client attached to this picture.
That's true.
And I understand that too. And I think I tend to be on the more like clearly storyboarded side of things, if I can be, just because it helps slice through a lot of conversations, I think. And but I think I do understand why you wouldn't want to have storyboards too, but I'm just not good enough yet to not have storyboards.
I think there's so many people on your set, on your crew too, that need to see that. That they need to see the image in your head. I think it's important to at least start with something. It's like a canvas, here's the basic blocking, and then kind of let it unfold from there, at least so someone can see, the composition of your shot at least. I think is super important. Go ahead.
I think like for me, I think it's just like a way to gain confidence and trust early. I see it as like an opportunity to do that rather than like something I'm going to be held to or later on, and if I have the time or resources, I like to have like not only storyboards, but like a little rip cut edit vibe check thing too. Like I think anything you can point to and show a less creative person, like this is what we're trying to do, I think that's really helpful. And I think that ends up saving me a lot of time. And maybe someone who has the more confidence or something than I do is better at not having that than I am. But for me, it just feels like a way to gain trust and save time.
And you really need that pedigree to be able to show up on set, because like you want confidence, but you're also trying to give confidence to the client.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that pedigree and you're not able to show, and you're just able to say what you're doing, they're not going to have the confidence they would if you're able to just show it.
Yeah. Well, and especially with commercials too, where it's like, there's ultimately like a product that someone, you know, for a client, more often than not, they want their product to look good first and foremost, and everything else is secondary to that.
Yep.
And if you can prove like it's going to look good, you're okay. You can trust us. Like, that ends up being such a pressure off and makes it so much easier to like get good stuff on the day, I think.
Especially when you have a previs, even if it's like an iPhone video, to show pacing and cuts, or maybe there's a transition that they can't understand. You're like, this is how we're doing that.
Yeah.
Zane Ogwen, do you know who he is? Mm-mm. He's the director that I hire. We went to college together. Cool. Have that relationship. He's big on previs, and he'll do it for me all the time. We'll do little gimmicky videos sometimes. And he's like, this is how I'm going to pull this off. And I'm like, oh, I see it.
And with AI too nowadays, it's like what you can do previs wise. It's just crazy what you can do. And there's a little bit of like a double-edged sword factor to it, but I think
I just created this, and they're like, we'll just use that.
We'll just buy that for
I gotta save a lot of money.
I know. It's like spooky how good AI is getting, but I think time is the most precious resource, and you can just save so much good time with good previs.
Yeah.
So
one thing I wanted to touch on too is this this process, or this part that you're in, where the agency has the idea, they come to you and they whittle it down to 3 directors. All right, give us a treatment. That part is so stressful to me, because it's that walking the line. Here's my style, here's what I want to do, but then there's a client, and you don't want to push too far away, but you also need to interject your style to sell yourself.
I know.
Talk about that process for yourself when you have that opportunity to become the director, and you have to prove yourself. Do you find yourself pushing one hard left versus the right?
Dude, I think I'm like on a bit of a losing streak right now, where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
You're like, I don't know what to do anymore.
It feels like, man, just swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Like I think on the spectrum of like, do I be the helpful collaborator guy who helps them figure out their idea, or do I pitch them like the cool thing that I believe in?
Yeah.
I think more often than not, the cool thing you believe in ends up being better for everyone. But it's like, it's also impossible to know what the agency really wants. Yeah. And oftentimes they don't know what they really want until they're looking at it. Yeah. And like, there's so much like risk aversion, as on the agency side of things, that for them to pitch the big, bold idea, they're getting like beat down by their client month after month. Like they naturally just kind of avoid risk and end up pitching ideas they know their client will like. Yep. But that's not how you like make good stuff necessarily either. And so I think more often than not, an agency really wants a director to come in with a strong vision, even if it's like a pretty far departure from like their original creative. Like, I think it's a better instinct to like swing for the fences than to like be the kind, helpful, humble collaborator.
Well, and then you're also going to do something you're going to be more proud of. Yeah. And I think they want that too. Right. They want you to be invested and not just be a button pusher.
Well, and on the like political side of it too, it's kind of easier for them to like pitch the kind of watered down safe version of it, and then have this hired gun director be the big bold crazy guy rather than them. And so I think like embracing that is a lot of what I'm trying to be better at, and I think I get sucked into like just trying to be helpful and a good like collaborator a little too much, and when they really want like strong creative vision.
So it's like kind of leaning into that risk more than being safe.
I think with how like saturated things are, like swinging for the fences is a better idea.
Coming with original ideas, because like you said, it is so saturated and it's so hard to stand out these days and do something different.
But to also like to take in their creative brief and be like, I see what this is really about.
Right.
And like, come with that confidence of like, I see your idea. Here's the best version. Like, I think that's always a tricky thing to navigate. But yeah, I think like better just to go too far than not far enough. I think that's like ultimately the better career move.
Yeah, I find that we do that a lot, where we do push pretty far, and then we do that knowing they're going to pull back. And
Yeah,
like, okay,
right.
we need to save money here, so let's do this versus that. And it's like, okay, cool. And then you find that middle ground. But I think it is
like,
important for you to push the envelope, and they look for it.
Yeah.
How do you be risky? How do you push our creative? And then how do we meet in the middle?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think like it seems like, yeah, like more often than not, the agency they're gonna pick the guy who has like the strongest vision, and even if that's just kind of an anchoring point that you like come back from, I don't know, like I think that's a better place to start from.
Amazing, great advice in all of that. So when you were at the agency, you're getting work through them as a director. What happened after that?
So I was at Namesake for maybe like 4 or 5 years. I can't remember exactly how long. And then through a kind of crazy set of circumstances, they ended up closing up shop. But I think it ended up being kind of perfect timing for me to like kick me out of the nest a little bit into something new and uncomfortable in a good way. And I had met this AD who's like, you know, you talk about like work wives or work husbands. He's like the best work husband ever. Paul Chaput is this AD I really love. And we met shooting this job for Can-Am up in Canada. And after shooting, he was like, dude, you should know about these farm league guys. Like, you are their vibe. And I hadn't heard of them before. And I looked them up, and they were like everything I love in like filmmaking. They had this like kind of surf pedigree, and they had this background in like adventure documentary films, but they also made like big commercials too. And they had a small roster, and they were kind of this like boutique production company. And there was a lot of things I loved about them. And I was like, I felt like that I belong there.
Yeah.
And so Paul introduced me to them, and it kind of started this conversation. And one of the things I tell like any director who's like trying to get signed somewhere, it's like, reach out to your dream people now, because it's not often that it's like the first time you reach out to someone, that's when it happens.
Right.
Like, you start those conversations now, and 2 years from now it pays off or something. And there's no reason to not start it right now, even though, you know, your reel isn't where you want it to be or whatever. Like, you start the conversation now, and you can be honest about like where you're at in your career or whatever, but start it now. So I was fortunate to kind of start that conversation. And in the meantime, I had like gotten signed at another production company and did some work with GMC, and it was really great. And it ended up, I ended up signing with Farm League about 2 years ago, and it's been really great being there. They've been like, I mean, knowing where to sign as a director is like also, it's like this impossible question of like, well, who's going to sell me? Where do I fit? There's a million different questions within that question. And I think I felt very confident in like, I like these people's vibes, and I get the sense that they are invested in developing me as a director, which is like, out of all the things I can't know, those things that I do know felt like very important, and ended up signing there. And it's been really great being there. I feel like, if nothing else, I've grown a lot as a director. And I mean, where I see myself right now, I'm like in this sort of like B tier automotive trying to break into A tier. And it feels like everything I'm learning from them has been like so important into like getting that next step as a director, you know.
That's so cool. All right, how many directors do they have on hand there?
Oh, I think they have like 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you finding yourself doing the similar pitches, treatments, like I'm the guy, or do they just hear we already know you're the guy?
Well, I mean, that's like one of the weird things about that like pipeline of how traditional commercials are made, you know, through an agency, through the reps, through production company, all that stuff. Like there's a sort of like, yeah, every production company is doing a sort of calculation of how much resources to put into each of their directors, or what opportunities they're going to fight for a director for. And I think with Farm League, it's felt very nice to like feel that transparency of like, here's what we think you are, Cam, and that's a conversation, and here's how we're selling you, and here's the type of work we think you should be getting, or here's the type of work we think you should be expanding to. Like, it feels very nice to have like collaborators in those questions, and it's not just some like black box of, I don't know how the work is coming to me, or that, you know?
Yeah. So do you have something from Farm League that, well, two questions. Let's start here. Would you have a story of something that, whether it was with Farm League or just a story that stands out in your mind as something you could be most proud of, or it could be a crazy situation that you navigated, something that comes to the top of your mind about a film and a problem solution that you had to kind of figure out on the fly?
Yeah. You know, I've been one of maybe the biggest blessing of my career has been the opportunities to like travel and shoot all over the world. And I've been fortunate to like shoot a lot in China and in the Middle East and Indonesia and South America. And it's I love like rolling up to somewhere I've never been, but then suddenly I'm like surrounded by all these people who speak production, you know? And we did this job last year in Australia. We were shooting for Yamaha motorcycles. It was Yamaha India, but we were shooting in Australia. And you learn very quickly that business is done very differently depending where you're at in the world. And India certainly does it differently. And it was the craziest production I've ever been a part of. It was madness from the beginning. But and I think they're just like, you know, shooting in India is like such a different ball game than shooting in Melbourne, Australia. And I think they're like much more used to like things happening very quickly, and you can just pay the right guy and it happens. Whereas, you know, in Australia, it's like you're not going to shoot on a road that's not permitted, and you have to permit it a month before and blah, 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 blah. So it was this kind of crazy production we were doing out there where there was a lot of stuff that was really fast and loose. And me and the DP, I mean, thankfully I knew enough to like put my foot down on a few of like, I need my DP to be my guy, because I can't work with like all the other unknowns. I need a few people that I know I can work with. And so Mason was out there with me, and we were able to get like a really badass arm car team and a really great stunt coordinator. But then kind of everything else was very much up to the local producer they had there. And it was madness. It was like so many things were going wrong. And and there was, just like permitting, and there was all these roads where they were supposed to have paid to clear the parking, so we didn't have all these cars on the side of the road, and all these things that were kind of slipping through the cracks. And on the last day of shooting, there was like so many like intense conversations. But the last day of shooting, the EP from the production company that was shooting ended up like attacking the client, the Yamaha client. It was like a full-on fist fight. I'm breaking up like the EP and the client, they're going at each other, and I'm like, am I gonna get sued for like being part of this job?
You're the middleman.
It was wild. And we got back to the hotel. Mason is just like so burnt out. He's like, bro, we gotta fly out tonight. And I go down, and the EP, I'm like, dude, what you attacked the guy? What were you doing? And he was like, well, he was talking shit. And
No way, dude.
It was crazy. But I've had like so many funny, like I kind of love that element of like just going to a new place and not knowing how everything works,
Yeah.
but knowing how to speak production and kind of
Yeah.
like knowing how to make things happen. I don't know.
And
Yeah.
navigating it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like when you're dealing with a lot of directors are dealing with pressure situations constantly, and it's a lot of problems you're solving. Where do you find yourself when it comes to like stress management and being able to be the guy that's cool, keeping people together, especially when they're fist fighting?
Yeah.
Are you a peacemaker?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, maybe to a fault.
Okay.
I can be like on the spectrum of like pushy asshole to like pushover peacemaker. I'm definitely more on the pushover peacemaker side of things. But yeah, I mean, like it's also nice that like people are people, no matter where you go, and ultimately like it can look very different, like how it's accomplished, but people want the same things. They want a creative vision. They want a strong leader, and kind of knowing how to translate that depending on where you are in the world is a tricky thing. But I also think it's nice to have enough experience to kind of know what my lane is, and to not be like taking on the burden of like things that are not my fault or out of my control. And I think, early on in my career, I remember many times feeling like very overwhelmed, like take 10 minutes in the bathroom and just like breathe kind of thing. And now that I've had my ass kicked enough to like know it's going to be okay, and this isn't all on me necessarily, as well as having like, to kind of have a good team of people around you, it just becomes so much easier to like not take on the burden of things that are not your responsibility.
Yeah.
And to know what those things are is huge.
Yeah, when that feeling when you're on set and it's the vibe's off, right?
Oh.
Everyone feels it.
Dude,
and having to keep the vibe up when it's not wanting to be there, that's like you just kind of like, all right, I'm the guy that has to do this, and so you have to keep your composure, the happiness, the upbeat. Is that hard for you when you're in that situation to like keep the spirits up, or do you find you actually thrive in those situations?
Yeah, we were shooting. I was talking about that Honda job earlier. Yeah. It was a pretty challenging shoot in some ways because we were working with like this real family with it was kind of a unique motorcycle commercial because we were shooting like a 5-year-old riding a bike, and I think it was like a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're not professional stunt riders by any means, and to be able to kind of adapt our production approach to like match these kids who only have so much steam, and they're riding, I think it was easy for me to underestimate that, even just turning the bikes around on a trail is like, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And, wait, what was your question again?
It was, being able to,
just
when you're in
adapt.
those situations, and being able to stay cool and adapt is the best way to say that.
Yeah, I think like I think I was feeling the stress of it very much on the day of like, it's hot as hell out here. To even just get this simple shot is taking forever because we have to turn the whole train around and all this stuff that it's just like not going as smoothly and as fastly or as fast as I had imagined maybe. And for me to kind of like, you still have to lead this whole crew of people. I can't just be like all mad about how it's going. Totally. Like there's still a job to be done. And I mean, that's where like having the right team around you is huge, where you can just be like communicating with the producers and with the AD, with the DP, all those things become all the more important. But I do think there's just like an attitude thing that matters. I think it was a wake-up call for me that like, it's one thing to be the cool director leader guy when things are going smooth. It's another to like be that guy when things aren't going smooth. And a certain amount of like setting the tone independently of how it's actually going. I think that really matters. And I want to be like cognizant of that like people are looking to me for leadership, and I'm setting the tone for like the vibe on set. And if the vibe is like, oh, this sucks, we're not getting what we want, and blah blah blah, like, even though that might be true, like, it still matters to like have a good attitude, and to have, you know, things feel positive is really important, because, you know, like from the agency side of it, there's the final product, and there's the experience.
Yeah.
And if the experience just felt like a slog, even if it ends up being this amazing product, it might not matter that much, because they might not come back to you if it just sucked getting it.
The experience has got to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I think that's a huge piece of being a director, is to be able to be a coach and to keep people up when things aren't going good, and motivating. I was in the thing that always sticks out in my mind in my career was I was in the Bahamas shooting for a Sea-Doo commercial. We were 5 days into it, and it was 110 plus
shooting
humidity,
on the water is a nightmare.
on the water. Everyone was over it, and everyone's taking lunch in the shade, and people are just starting to just melt, you know, just like, I don't want to get up and finish this. It was the last half of the last day. And I'm the director, and I'm just like, just kind of kicked it into gear, and was like, without realizing, this was pretty early in my career, without realizing that need. And I just did. I stood up, and it was like, let's get excited. Like, this is what we're going to be shooting next. And it was funny. We were golfing. We were chip shotting off the back of a Sea-Doo to the beach. Which was a pretty technical thing to even have these guys stand up on. And just making it fun and getting people excited. And it was one of the more memorable moments, because it was hard, but it was keeping the vibe in the right place and keeping people excited. And when something goes wrong, it's almost funny, and how do we make joy out of it and things like that. So I think that's a huge piece in being a coach, man. Well,
and I think I like only understand the world through sports analogies. And like, it really is this like team effort where if you're just pissed that things aren't going the way you want, like, you're leading the team, and like your tone, your attitude really matters. And I think there's this fine balance of like, we're hungry, we're getting what we want, we're moving quick, we're not just like messing around, but it doesn't suck while we're doing it either. Like, it's still like a good, fun experience. I think that really matters to me, that we have this like, this kind of balance of like, no, we're playing NBA ball, but it is fun. We're having fun when we're doing it, you know?
And there's challenges in there that come with that.
And
I think that's the most common theme in all these podcasts is being able to be a good hang, and to get those callbacks, because it was more about the experience you provided for the clients and the whole crew, and making it something that everyone was like, that was so fun. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, we had challenges, but it was so much fun because of the way that the set was run. And then that's the callback. Like, people would rather work with people that can make it a good experience, but obviously the importance of the final product is there. But
well, and back to that balance of like, are you like the good vibes collaborator guy, or are you like the vision, like, driving asshole guy? Like, there's somewhere in the middle there that like, I think you should be striving for, where you're not compromising, you're not like, you still are getting an amazing final product, but it doesn't just feel like hell getting there, you know?
And being able to put your foot down when the time comes. And that comes through experience, and really trusting in your vision. Like, because that's something that's always hard when you're on set, is art is what is it, real, not the, it's subjective. And have you seen those videos with the guy that's he's an artist, I don't know what he does, but he's got the big white beard, crazy hair, and he's got the orange glasses. A bigger dude, and he talks about just being an artist and getting to the point in your career that you have enough confidence to fight for your vision as an artist. And you get to the point where whether it's good or not, it becomes art, and people just fall in love with the passion and the story behind it because you provided that. And so getting to that point where, yes, no one's seeing what you want, but it's like, this is what I want, I'm going to stick to it, and then it turns out good, and you got to build that confidence with repetition.
Totally.
Well, that brings us kind of to your time at what is it, Farm League. Do you have a project out of there that you're more proud of to date?
Yeah,
that we can look at.
We did. Let me think of like the recent stuff we've done. There's a bunch of stuff that's not quite out yet, but we did a project for Ford last year here actually in Utah. That was like, it was a really tough shoot in a lot of ways, and we're shooting 6 different vehicles and we got to shoot all these different features, and there's forest fires killing our locations, and we're having to like pivot a day before and find new spots. Like this was it was such a nice experience to like be figuring out some of these tough production questions with like a badass team.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to be shooting here in Utah too, and like have a bit of this like home field advantage. And we got to shoot up at Snow Basin, and we got to shoot at all these locations that were really fun to shoot at. But it was challenging. Like the amount of stuff we had to shoot in one day was
diverse,
immense.
Man. You're all over the place.
Yeah, well, and it's like, like I was saying, like in this kind of tier of work that just needs so many different deliverables out of it, like it's a real challenge to make something good and get we have to shoot the cargo mats and the lift gate and the suspension. You have to shoot 90 different features and get some sort of like human moment out of it too. And it was a lot, but it felt really nice to just have the A team out here. I shot this. There was a DP, Chris Bennell, he shot this with me, but I also, on shoots like this, I really like to have a little like self-contained B unit thing. And when you need to get all these little details of the car, the badges and the features, it's so nice to have a little self-contained B unit to pick up some of the stuff that doesn't require all the support of the whole crew. But yeah, this was a really fun project, and it was great to shoot here at home.
Yeah, this is amazing. Did Override shoot all this arm car stuff?
Yes, they did. Cool. I was like double checking.
That's got to be so much fun. Are you sitting in during a lot of these car shots? Are you sitting in the car with the arm?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So usually it's like, if it's Override, we'll have like Damien driving, PJ's doing the arm, I'm in the car, and then Mason's running the sticks or the controls on the head. But yeah,
that's so fun.
Yeah.
So then at this point in your career, where do you see yourself going after? Is it, I'll just let you answer that question. The next 5 to 10 years, what would be ideal for you in the perfect world?
Yeah. I think maybe I'm at like a vulnerable spot right now, just cause I'm on this like a little bit of a losing streak. But I remember I got home from my mission and I wrote this like manifesto on a Reddit, some filmmaker subreddit of like, I will do whatever it takes to win a Best Picture. I'll flip burgers through college. I'll do whatever I have to win an Academy Award. And I think through the years that sort of like drive, or it almost becomes this like curse, this like thing that's like haunting you as opposed to motivating you.
Yeah.
And I think like post-COVID, like 2024, frankly, was like a pretty tough year for me. And it kind of forced me to like re-examine my career and sort of redefine what success is in many ways. Yeah. And I think I've been trying to like redefine in a healthier way what success is for me. And if I like live my life where if I don't win an Academy Award, I'm a failure, that's like not a good way to live, I think, actually. Sure. And how do you have the drive? How do you have the big dream, but not get like, I don't know, like not have the negative side of ambition, Yeah. And I think a lot of it is about defining success. And so I think I used to like want to define success was a lot about like, I need to have feature films nationwide theatrical releases and blah, 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 blah. And there's still like, I still very much want that. Like that is the dream for me, is to be making like feature films. But I want to be better at like having a healthier definition of happiness for myself right now too. And I think for me, a lot of that is about like making work I feel proud of, doing it with people I love, feeling creative, feeling like getting to have little adventures, being able to travel. Like I have so much to feel happy about, and I want to be able to like feel happy in the moment. But yeah, hopefully the dream is to be like telling stories, you know, and telling meaningful stories that hopefully are like, you know, feature length and to wide audiences, you know.
What's interesting about that is that you want to get to this goal, right? And a lot of people may get to that goal. And I don't remember exactly how he said it, but we'll just kind of relate it to you. But it was the whole Jim Carrey speech where he's like, I'm now 2-time we'll just say Oscar-winning actor Jim Carrey. Yeah. And I'm going to go to bed tonight dreaming about being 3-time, and it's never enough, right? Right. That's the whole idea of it. And so you may get there and you realize like, this is what I've thought about my whole life. I made it. Now what? Like, I got to go do it again or something like that. So it's good to have that perspective of like a goal, but at the same, that's not like your happiness. That's not the reason you're doing this. Yeah. Right. And that might be another question I could ask you. What is the reason that you're doing this? Yeah. Because I think that's a good perspective to have at this point in your career, and maybe helping someone that's younger to keep that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of it in a very practical way, like first and foremost, I want to be able to make enough money to provide for my family. Yeah. After that, like, I think a lot of it is about being creative with my friends, really. And that's like the best part of it for me. And I'm like so grateful to have opportunities to like have people I work with who are more than just coworkers, and we get to like be creative together in a way that is like, I don't know, just like very meaningful to me. Yeah. Even if we are just making car commercials, like I love to like be in those trenches with people I love, and people who have the same ambitions I do is like really, really special to me.
I love that too. And I think that maybe something that I think you giving like your friends opportunities too. I think as you start to get directing gigs, you're obviously close to the top of like the crew to where like you're able to hire the people when you have permission, and so you're able to give other people opportunities that you're getting. And I think there's a lot of fulfillment in that, and that's what I found in my life is like getting to a point in our age to like, okay, we know how to do this, how do we now help other people get opportunities and get what they want? And the best analogy, it's my favorite, I've said it a bunch of times, but it's so the whole purpose of an airplane, right, is to help people get to their destination. And a lot of people might think it's just, you know, I'm an airplane, I'm going to just fly from point A to point B, but that's meaningless, right? If it's an empty airplane, what's the point? You could fly 1,000,000 miles around the world, but if you're not helping people get to where they need to go, then what's the point? And that's ultimately, I think, the most purposeful way to live your life is, how do I help other people? And you're doing that as a director, as you're bringing in your friends, and like it's all about people. It's
so fun too. And it's like, it's really special as a director. Like, you do have like these opportunities you get to like give people sometimes too. And I think I love that element of the job, to sort of like develop talent on some level, you know, and like for me to get someone on as a BTS shooter or a second unit, or help edit this thing, or like, you know, there's all these little opportunities I have at my fingertips to like extend to people sometimes. And I love when, you know, through the years, there's been like so many people who I've been able to like bring onto a job that, you know, for my selfish purposes, it's still like totally like it benefits me, but then it's an opportunity for like this person I really like and really believe in to like prove themselves and grow. And it's cool to like, have been doing it long enough to like see all these people I really liked like develop as filmmakers. You know?
I love that. Do you have any piece of advice? You've given so much, but anything that you could really steer someone in the right direction if they were young and wanted to go in this route?
Yeah, I think like, I don't know. It's sometimes I feel like, how much does my advice even translate to like the 2025 version of coming up? Totally. I don't know.
There are things that definitely stand the test of time.
Yeah. But I do think like there's ultimately something about like knowing what you love and going out and making it.
Yeah.
And to know what you love, I think a lot of that is just like conscious consumption of media. It's like knowing your favorite movies and why. Yeah. And knowing your favorite filmmakers and why, or having like, I'm really big on like, your Vimeo likes page should be like your library of like references. Yeah. And like, so I think knowing what you like to turn that into like a conscious effort of exposing yourself to new things and curating the things you love, and then just executing. Even if, like early days, obviously like a lot of your executing is just emulating the things you love and copying the things you love. But as you get further along in that path, you're just like, your sort of remix of all the things you love just becomes you. Yeah. And I think the more you can just like, I was saying earlier, like if you're young and you're living at your parents' house, or you have a room you pay $600 a month for, like take advantage of that time where you can take on so much risk and just shoot everything. Like go make so much stuff. And you can like fast track your career to get paid to make the thing you love. Totally. I think like the advice I would have is just like, while there's no time like the present to just like execute on making the thing you love and trying to get paid doing it.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah. Amazing advice. We like to end things with a question. We're going to join hands actually. You're going to say it. We like to end these podcasts. We actually just started doing this a little bit ago. Got it from the Diary of a CEO, but it's film related. And that is, the last guest asked you a question without knowing who you are. And then we would want you to answer that question, but at the same time be thinking of a question that you want to ask the next guest. It could be life, film related, whatever it is comes to your mind. We also should start hooking that up to the JBL, so I don't have to repeat it because I'm always forgetting it. Because you can hear it. You can hear it from the computer, but I'll have to repeat it for the audience.
Yeah.
Jared
James.
That you could hang your hat on to your career. What
did you catch the first part of that?
Maybe do it one more time.
Yeah, do it one more. I didn't catch the first part of it because we were so excited to see Jared. What's the one thing in your life career that if you could hang your hat on it and you're like, I've done it, what would that be?
I think for me, art or film at the absolute highest level is when it feels like therapy. Mm-hmm. Like when you watch something and you walk away feeling like, I understand something about myself better now. And I think that for me, to make that type of work is like the absolute pinnacle for me. Like something that feels like so human and raw and sort of like therapeutic that you feel better for having watched it.
Yeah.
I think that's like the ultimate goal for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to turn it on you. Do you have a question that you could ask the next guest who will be here on Thursday?
Dude, I think I'm always wanting to know people's little tricks to like slice through bullshit, basically.
Nice.
And so I guess I would ask like what are little tricks you've developed through the years to like like let's say a client or somebody is like has a question or a concern. I don't know, like what's the best way to ask this?
What's your go-to?
Yeah, just like what are the ways you have found to like get to the core of an issue and address a concern without creating friction, I guess.
Nice. And I would imagine if I was to answer that, it's more of like, I find myself in these situations a lot where I'm trying to read the room and I'm trying not to step on their toes, but also try to get them to do what I want.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And to answer that, I don't know if I have a good answer, but it's really just figuring out how to read that person and understanding that. And that comes through a lot of conversations and developing that intuition of like, what are they thinking? Where are they at? How do I make it what they want, but also interject what I want, but not create conflict?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is like asking the right questions, and I like want to know, like what are the right questions to ask to
point.
like get to the core of a creative concern, maybe.
Ask the right questions. That's a great answer. So if they don't know how to answer, I'll at least have something to give them. All right, this is a filmmaker's journey. This is your guest, Cameron Goold. Thanks for being on, man.
Dude, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.